And we will be followed by panel 2, led by Terry, which will discuss retaining veteran talent, establishing ERGs, and developmental programs. So take it away, Terry.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth. And a great discussion. I was excited to hear about that. And it's just very encouraging that we have such a great partner network. We're going to transition now to the next panel, panel number 2, which will focus on ERGs. So employee readiness groups or veteran readiness groups. And some of the same partners that were on panel 1 will come back and share with us on panel 2. But I did ask that the ones on panel 1, that if they do have insights, they can also feel free to chime in as we circle around. So glad to have you. I do want to pause and just announce once again and thank our audience for being with us for the Microsoft Software and Systems Academy Employer Partner Conference 2024. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for being with us today. And we have several people on from our partners, but we also know that we have listeners who are just interested in the program. Veterans are on as well, and a variety of people from the tech industry. So thank you once again on behalf of the MSA team for being with us today. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm just going to go ahead and allow the panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with Gina. Gina, I want to say hello to you. And if you want to take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. I want to come on camera. Well, we'll circle back and let's, is she on now? No, okay, we'll circle back. Tony, do you want to come on and introduce yourself?
Yep. Can you hear me okay now, Terry?
Yeah. You come on camera if you can. Awesome.
The joy of a double mute from Teams.
That's right.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tony Sanchez. I'm with Juniper Networks, former Army veteran and proud member of the Parachute Packing Club and behind me. So happy to be part of this team and happy to help showcase on with my colleague coming aboard, Jeffrey Emmel, and how we built our employee affinity group inside Juniper for veterans. So thank you for having us and looking forward to sharing our learnings with everybody.
Right, great, thank you. And Caitlin, go ahead and reintroduce yourself again.
Sure thing, Terry. So Caitlin Yelenik, I'm the Executive Director of Talent Management at TIAG. We're a mid-sized government contractor in Reston, Virginia, but also all across the nation. And as you know, I just came off of speaking about hiring veterans talent. You know, the next step in the equation is retaining them. And that's the other part that we're so passionate about at TIAG, growing and retaining our talent. And we have several MSSA alumni who have grown within the organization. So I'm just really excited to speak on this topic, Terry.
Okay, great. Thanks for being with us. And now I'm going to slide over to Tony's partner is Jeff.
Hey, Terry. Thank you very much. Can you see me okay?
Now I can. Yes, you're in the jet fighter once again.
Yes, just the little Cessnas behind me. Yes. Just want to first of all, I want to congratulate Chris and Terry and Eric and Beth. The MSSA program is one of the most significant programs for Juniper. I think it's one of the most outstanding frameworks that a lot of partners and veterans can attest to. It's a true testimony to Microsoft taking the lead in the industry to help get certifications to veterans. And nobody could be more prouder than a veteran trying to hire a veteran. And that's the one thing at Juniper we're proud of, is that Tony and I and many others, Alden Reed and others that have created Hives for Heroes, worked with those folks, hiring our heroes. We're doing a lot of things with other recruiting companies. So the ERG at Juniper, we set that up about a year ago. I came from IBM after about 20 years. I'm 5 generations Navy, so I did put a Navy department comment in there in the chat box. I do support all the armed services, but knowing there is really only one Navy department. The key there is that we also have 4 squads. We have one around recruiting, onboarding, camaraderie, and leadership. Okay, so we're very much focused on the veterans, family members, spouses, but also we adopted first responders. A lot of people have overlooked first responders, but we felt that since first responders are giving back to their community every day, that there's just as important sometimes as our veterans signing up for the Constitution and serving our country abroad. So, Terry, I just want to thank you, especially in the Microsoft organization, because what you're doing is so important to give veterans certifications, okay, to get them the skills necessary to work in any industry, not just the IT industry, but manufacturing, logistics, et cetera. And the candidates that you have run into the virtual fair are top notch. And I think we heard the comment earlier, a lot of them have clearances. And those clearances mean a lot of money for a lot of people, and also a lot of entree into different corporations that are working with FedRAMP programs, et cetera, et cetera. So again, Terry and Chris, thank you, Chris, especially being part of the Navy Department, being a Marine. I'm very proud of that fact. You haven't changed a bit probably since you went through boot camp in Paris Island or wherever you went to. But Terry, back to you, my friend.
Oh my goodness. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you. And again, I echo the comments. We're very, very proud of our graduates. So let me bring in Maria. Hello, Maria. You want to come in and introduce yourself? Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Hi, everyone. Maria Morgan with CACI, and hello to my MFSA friends and all of you. I'm the program coordinator for programs and partnerships under our corporate Veterans and Military Affairs program, led by Gary Patton, who you heard from earlier. I'm a military spouse with a talent acquisition background, and I'm joining from Indianapolis today, where I work remote from the corporate headquarters in Reston, Virginia. I served as VP of Communications for our Veterans Employee Resource Group, so I appreciate the opportunity from MSSA to chime in today.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And appreciate everyone being here with us. Great and esteemed panel. So let's jump into our questions. And it looks like everybody signed up for this one, but I'm just going to throw it out there. And Caitlin, let's present it to you first. And what are the benefits of a Veteran Employee Resource Group or VRG?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the benefits, first and foremost, are that sense of community for the veterans as they join your organization, and establishing that place to connect with more seasoned veterans, mentors, or those who are just allies to the veterans community. So I think that's what makes them really great places for veterans to connect with as soon as they're hired.
Yes, great. I agree with that 100%. Tony or Jeff, do you like to jump in on this question?
Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
Yep. I think for us, a lot of it for Inside Juniper, because it's a new process for us. When we started out, it's really getting a chance to know your colleague for us beyond what we know them from the day-to-day work. So I have someone that I've worked with for a couple of years, but never knew they served in the military. So as we started to build our ERG, there's a different level of trust that we've established, and friendship and camaraderie that we didn't really know we had beyond just doing our day-to-day job. So we find a lot of value in that helps bring us together and closer as Junivators, the name that we call those of us who work for Juniper. So we find a lot of value in that, and really appreciate that ability to talk more about work and have those other stories that we can connect with one another on.
Yeah, if I could come off of Tony's responses, that we found out that the veteran EAG works with our women's EAG, works with our build EAG, works with other EAGs. And because we found out that people are working in different business units. So now, as Tony mentioned, we had people working side by side, didn't know they were a veteran because we never brought it up, right, in team meetings. Because sometimes in corporations, people are a little bit nervous about letting people know they are a veteran. So we're bringing those barriers down. We're proud we're a veteran. We're telling people we're a veteran. And we're making sure that we're aware that people understand the leadership skills of veterans, but it's just cross-pollination. It's having the communication. And again, everybody has a story. And so we want people to share their stories. And just like the parachute there behind Tony, there's a parachute, right, Tony? You Army guys have those strange things on your shelves. We have little model ships and airplanes. You guys got backpacks. But anyway, Terry, it's great because the benefits of these ERGs is that we get to meet people in the company and share stories, and that's how we position it.
Okay, Maria, I know you have a lot of experience based on the positions you served with within ERG, within CSCI. What are your comments on this question?
Yeah, I agree with Caitlin, who started off on a sense of community, sense of belonging, camaraderie. Those are all the key words that factor into the benefits of Veterans Employee Resource Group. Just a few things to add. I think it's important to wrap, the goal around the mission and creating a mission for the Veterans Employee Resource Group. Our mission is to make impactful contributions to both the company and to the military and veteran communities. And we do that by promoting veteran awareness, fostering cohesion, striving to increase veteran hiring and retention, and also extending our community outreach. So when you have those goals in mind, you can then support those initiatives. And just to give a few examples of some things that we've done that have fostered our community within CACI is we have local volunteers that gather on Veterans Day, and they ship care packages to over 300 employees that are working across 21 countries in combat zones and hardship areas, so that they're not forgotten. So that's one mission that we do. Another thing that we do is we have VERGE members. We call Veterans Employee Resource Group VERGE because we're always on the verge of doing something great. And we have our members and their families volunteer across the United States at different national cemeteries to be part of Wreaths Across America, laying wreaths on the graves of our heroes who have fallen. So we do that every year. I'm trying to think. We also partner with the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. to wash the wall of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall at the early start of the morning, just to have that washed and clean for our visitors who are coming from various locations. So those are just a few examples of what we do in order to support our overall corporate employee value proposition, so that we can employ and allow our employees to feel that sense of belonging.
Okay, great, Maria. I'm going to ask Gina to come off camera and introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the ERG at Microsoft.
Sure. Thanks, Terry. And thank you all again for being here with us today. My name is Gina Kirby. And as Terry mentioned, I am one of the former global co-chairs for our military ERG here at Microsoft. Our ERG is made up of service members, spouses, reservists still currently serving, as well as allies who are looking to support and be a part of the military community in a different way. We cross a number of different countries here at Microsoft, so we have representatives from a variety of different countries who've served. And really, the function or the role that I see the ERG playing is really ensuring that the rest of the company, because it's such a large place, is supporting all of the things that a service member needs as they onboard within the company. At over 100,000 employees, sometimes it's very easy to quickly feel like I'm this employee number, and I am just a very small cog in a wheel, which can be true, but it's important that we find space to welcome service members in, whether they're just currently transitioning into their first corporate role or whether they've been in kind of corporate roles for a while now. The focus that we have as an ERG is to create a lens by which we understand service members and their families are going to kind of receive some of that information from the rest of the company, whether that involves understanding how benefits apply and what service members think about benefits, knowing some of the benefits that they already have in place, whether that is educational benefits that might be available to us, whether it's thinking about mental health awareness as it relates to the service member and their families, or if it's just simply about ongoing career mentorship and training. These are the kind of things that we think about, but we look at it from the dynamic and the perspective of service members. So that way we're serving them more closely to the things that they need, the things that they value and that are important to them, and making sure that, as everybody else mentioned, that they're having a place where they feel like this is where I am supposed to be, and this is a great place for me to stay, as opposed to feeling like this is my job.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Gina. A lot of you have commented on culture and how it is very advantageous to retention of veterans. Now, some of our folks that are listening in may not have an established ERG. What advice can you give them for establishing an ERG? And who wants to kick this off first? You want to go with Caitlin? You nodded your head first.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the ERGs support culture by pairing with your organization's values and commitments. So I think the first step is to, get an understanding of what the goal is. So how can that align with your values? Is your culture very like personal development heavy? Is it mentorship heavy? Is it a very entrepreneurial spirited organization? So I think you have to get very clear on that. And then the ERG can develop and serve as a channel or an avenue to foster that sense of community with those goals in mind. Because we're a mid-size organization. We don't have, 20,000 employees and a like super established ERG, but we have a very core community of veterans that make up our almost 38% of the organization. And so, personal development and mentorship, those things are core values of TIAG. So how can our ERG reflect that in the actions taken? So I think that's really the first step, Terry, is to get clear on that and how it aligns to your culture and your values. And then pathways can open, and it can start really small, or you can make it really large and have some very successful like Microsoft and Juniper, some very large ERG type communities, but it could also stay small and very tactical just to stay committed to your values.
Okay, thanks, Caitlin. I saw Gina. You raised your hand initially. Go ahead, Gina.
Sure, no problem. So while as a company we're very large, as a military ERG, we honestly started out with a very small group. And when I say small, I mean it was a handful of people in a few different sites that said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a veteran," and somebody else said, "Oh yeah, I served too." And it started in this very organic way where it was just these small groups of people who found community within their locations that continued to build this momentum to the point where we reached and we realized and said, "What? There's probably a lot of us here. We should try and maybe formalize something and start figuring it out." And it truly started in earnest in just that way. And to your point, agreed. There is a lot that even though we have a global presence, there's a lot of what we do that stays very centric and very close within the local communities. So for example, we have chapters in the Carolinas and in Texas and here in the Redmond and the Puget Sound area in the US, for example. And we find that local community where we still do things, whether it's volunteering, whether it is something social, so it's just for fun. And there's a fantastic camaraderie that comes as a part of that, even while knowing that you're part of something that's larger.
Great. Thanks, Gina. Great insight. Jeff, you have any insights to provide?
Well, the best thing is that, so Caitlin, thank you for including Juniper and Microsoft in the same breath, because we're 11,000 people. we're 11,000 people spread globally. Okay, so Tony and I are part of a global ERG, and you can imagine how we were formed. So the company culture at Juniper is very people oriented. Okay, very focused on making sure employees enjoy their job, but we're very team oriented. And so when we created the Veterans EAG, it became very obvious that the leadership with the veterans we had are part of these project teams. And then, as I mentioned, tell the story. So we have cookbooks, and all of our ERGs, every ERG has a cookbook for the members to share different dishes, to have the conversation about the culture that they actually have come from, not just the company culture, but their own personal cultures and personal histories. So the company culture that we have at Juniper is very unique, very interesting, and very enjoyable to work at. And then the Veterans ERG basically became some of the glue that kept things together. So we're now looking at ways to do things in the community, okay, like Hives for Heroes. We've got things around Winning Warriors up in Virginia. Okay, we have a lot of different groups that we try to support, not just the veterans group, but also like PTSD and the neurodiversity group. We also have two service animals that are comfort animals as well as therapy dogs. And there are mascots. We call them the secret weapon. They go out to the Veterans Administration, they go out to children's hospitals, and now we're going global with a program called Patrick Gives. That's one of the Golden Doodles is one of the service dogs called Patrick. So we're looking for other EAGs and other companies. And that's why the Microsoft Academy was so interesting, was because it's very project oriented. Microsoft products are product oriented. So when a networking person talks to a customer, it's about what the workload is. What cloud are they working with, right? What servers and storage? And there's rumors about HPE that people have heard about with Juniper as well on the market. So it ties all together. That's why this Microsoft Academy is so unique when it comes to helping veteran ERGs even get stronger. So I think, Caitlin, I appreciate your comments and everything, but we're small too, and we're global, so we're really spread out. So the veterans became even more important because that camaraderie, like you said, is getting people wanting to talk to each other about their history and their stories. And then when we share our stories with our women's group or with our Hispanic group or whoever, they share their stories with us. It's a big family. I mean, these ERGs create the family and the culture within each company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfectly. Thanks, Jeff. We're coming up on time, and I want to present this next question directly to Maria. Maria, how has your company, how has CCI used mentoring to retain veterans, or do you have something like that in place?
Yeah, good question. So yes, we do have a mentorship program. It's advertised during the onboarding process for an employee's what we call Great First Day. And when an applicant even gets through the system, they self-identify whether they're a veteran or a military spouse or National Guard Reserve. So they are earmarked under those categories so that we can track them for, later for reporting purposes. But that also ties in with our mentorship program. So you can either be a mentor or a mentee, sign up for either. If you're a mentor, you basically allow yourself to be available for whatever categories that you want to give advice on, whether it's professional or personal. And if you are wanting to be a mentee, you can search our system and look for matches that apply to what you're looking for. And for a lot of our transitioning service members who are just joining CICI for the first time, they need support, they need community. So one of the first things we advertise is the Veterans Employee Resource Group. And along with that, we have the mentorship program that is available to them for more one-on-ones.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share about their ERG, how it facilitates mentoring?
Me, I could go into if you want me to, Terry.
Sure.
Yeah, so our mentoring program is once we onboard a veteran, we assign them to an ambassador, to a veteran ambassador, so they have a veteran contact. Then we also have a typical corporate veteran program where we'll introduce them to a business unit veteran. The key there is they will keep that veteran the entire time so they don't feel like they're lost, because the key metric to veterans is to keep them gainfully employed at your company, is not to lose them. So the metric is for retention of an employee. That's why the mentoring program is so important. And I think, Terry, it was you or Eric that mentioned you have a mentoring Monday once a month. And so I stole that idea, just so you know. I borrowed it. I'm not going to pay for it, but it was not intellectual property. So we have a Monday mentoring call as well, where we share with our veterans, hey, look across the different business units. If there's a job opportunity elsewhere in the company, before you decide to leave the company, look and go talk to other veterans. So we have a recall bill that the veterans can look and see who's in what business unit and start creating relationships and friendships within the company. So that way other people can mentor them. So it's not like you're just stuck with one mentor like some companies have. Nah, you got a plethora of mentors to help you in your career and whatever advice, even from your family situation, how to help you, or a loved one who may be a Vietnam vet that's looking for veteran resources. So mentoring goes more than just helping with the job. It goes to help the vet with other resources as well. So again, as Tony mentioned, we started this a year ago, but we've made a lot of progress. But mentoring is key. Mentoring is key to make sure that we don't lose people, that they're not lost in the bureaucracy of a corporation, that they've got a friend and an ally to share stories with.
Right. Those personal connections. Anyone else on that about mentoring? Okay, Gina, yes.
Sure. So yes, we have Mentorship Monday. That's absolutely something that we have. I think the other thing that I enjoy that I see happening with consistency is people have now that enter the space understand that we're all pretty open and everybody's here to help. Two of the most common questions that I get are, how do I find a mentor? And on the opposite side, how can I continue to give back to others? I think the interesting thing is that because service members have that mentality and it's so embedded in the culture, as soon as service members get here, the first question is, how can I help other people get in? Right. And so one of the logical questions that they're trying to figure out is, how do I continue to get more people here? Which I absolutely just love. And so there's a lot of matching that just happens naturally. Someone will post a question and say, I'd like to learn a bit about this part of our business, or I'm trying to up my skills in this technical area. Anybody has to just raise a hand and somebody else is very quick to respond and say, either I'm the person or here's who you should talk to. I think the other one that is key that I've really seen is actually in partnership with our friends from MSSA. So while the MSSA program utilizes current employees as existing mentors within the program, once people are here at Microsoft, those MSSA students actually stay in contact with their mentors throughout their career. So for example, even myself, as a former MSSA mentor, I still stay connected with those people that I mentored from years and years ago, and they'll contact me even now. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with somebody and they said, tell me what you know about this role. Let's have a conversation about development and who else can I reach out to? And they are 7 years in now to the company. And so it creates this fantastic dynamic where the door is always open. And that's something that I really appreciate.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that real life story there. We're definitely coming up on time, but I do want to present this last question that deals with retention. How important is it to have some form, we talked about mentoring, but how important is it for some internal training to be in place for veterans to retain the talent? And Caitlin, do you want to go first for that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, training and professional development should be accessible, on day one of employment for all employees, but especially veterans, where they might need a little bit more coaching towards what they should pursue. So I think just an investment in visibility to what's accessible. And a lot of that goes back to making sure that our leadership at the organization knows that this is something that should be consistently top of mind. It can be folded into, annual performance reviews, but I think it should go, further than that and be more on a relationship basis to have those ongoing discussions about, career readiness, certifications, and those pathways to professional development should be very open for all, but of course, for your veteran talent. So I think as long as it's very clearly communicated and it's embedded in part of the culture and it's accessible, it's something that can definitely help with retention, but it should be an investment, that leadership and the company makes in the ongoing success of all of the employees and talent, but especially veterans. And yeah, ongoing education on what's available is going to be really important there, Terry.
Okay, great. We're at 1 minute because Beth is on the screen. Who would like to close us out with a very strong response? This panel. Okay, Maria, go ahead. Close us out.
Thanks for picking on me, Terry. I do want to go back to Caitlin on her topic on values. For us, we align our values with CACI among each of the military branches. So I can say that our Veterans Employee Resource Group was carefully planned around those values. Because of that, we have main categories that we made our initiatives for developing an employee resource group. One being organizational support. It's important to get leadership support behind your ERG. So get a C-suite executive sponsor to kick things off and have things trickle down. And also you can align and establish members for your group across the company and later branch out to different chapters. Second best practice is strategic planning. Make sure you have a strong mission statement and then develop your SOP behind that for processes, leadership, etc. The third best practice is member engagement. Make sure that you're constantly communicating with your members so that they have a say into the activities that you do that are aligned with your company values and culture. And then finally, promotion. And those internal communications are key just to make sure that you have company support behind it.
Thank you, Maria. I want to thank the panelists because we are now at time. I want to thank everyone for being part of it, sharing your insights and also your institutional knowledge when it comes to ERGs. Appreciate you being here. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Beth. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry and panelists. There was so much to love during that panel, so many great ideas and takeaways. I love the name Junivators. I love the cookbook idea. Lots of good stuff going on. So thank you all for your time and your insights.